Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm excited to go through and finally do a maintenance on the Paludarium, not Paludendrium. I know you've all commented Paludarium. Took me a lot of practice to make sure I was pronouncing it right for you all. I have a hard time pronouncing words, so what can I say? Not ashamed of it. So we're going to go through and do an update. So what happened and where we're at. Basically, you can go through and see part number 1 up here in the top left, right, for you all. I don't know how it works with this mirroring in the video screen, but it'll be up here and you can go watch part 1. That was the build part, adding some plants that I had and from my existing Thai crab Paludarium that I also had. So I added some from there. I actually this week ordered some tissue culture plants to add some more volume of plants to that tank. Remember, it's a no filter. Water's clear, everything is doing great. There's just not enough volume of plants for what I like. So I'm gonna go through and show an update of where we're at, do some maintenance on those as well, and talk about price. Some folks have been asking me about pricing. Be aware that I like rimless tanks, so those are a little bit more expensive. You can order different types of tanks if you want that aren't rimless, that are a little bit cheaper in price. I believe this cost of this tank was $59, and then we're going to talk about the cost of the plants. I already had the hardscape from before, but I just purchased hardscape for another scape that I'm going to be doing, and it's blue Syria stone because I ran out from doing this tank, and it was right around, I think, $78 total for the amount of hardscape. So hardscape just varies from where you're at. And then we'll talk about some of the substrate, but we'll do that when I'm doing that build. But for this one, we'll talk about the differences in terms of plant costs and where you can get those at. I talked about it at the beginning of part number 1, which I didn't know was going to be a part number 2. Obviously there is. So I didn't talk about it in the beginning of that one about like price and layouts and everything like that, but we'll start talking about price of plants and that nature. And I did talk about in that video going to your local nursery. So the great thing about immersed plants is your local nursery will probably have cheaper plants than the store itself. And they're going to do a little bit better if you have an open Paludarium, not dendrium, Paludarium, because what isn't in it when it's open is humidity, right? It's not contained. There's not a lot of humidity building up. So you might not get away with requirements of the amount of humidity that's required for some plants. But enough of that. I know you're always probably like, Michael, you talk too much, but I love talking to you all and kind of filling you in of the ethos of the story. But enough of that. Let's hop on in and see where we're at with the current tank setup and what it looks like and go through and add some more plants. All right, so this is where it stands. Again, I have a floating shelf here that I built, and there's a bunch of the tissue cultures that I got for this setup, and I need to take it off the shelf and put it in an area that I can start doing some maintenance on it. But that's what it looks like from now. I wanted to show you all kind of where it is and what it looks like. I haven't ordered a new light. I'm debating if I'm gonna even need one because what's mainly important in this type of setup is the immersed side versus the submerged. So I don't think I need a different light, but again, this is what it looks like. And let's break it down. We're not breaking it down. We're going to move it down to right here. Alrighty, let's go. Alrighty, so the bulbitis looks like it's doing somewhat fine. There's some dead bulbitis here. The Christmas moss is not growing back. I bought some Christmas moss to add that was already growing. The Irish, it looks like the Irish moss isn't doing well, so I'll probably pull that. Some of these other nano are doing good. The carnivore plant is not doing so hot. I believe this requires more humidity, and again, with an open tank like this, you don't get a lot of humidity trapped in this area. So I'm probably gonna pull this out and put something different in here. My boosters look good. And then again, you're probably all wondering, is the water clear? No filter, everything looks good in here. What I really want to do is have more water. So as you can see, the water line is a little bit below half. The issue why I haven't added more water is I need to hire this area. So I'm probably going to add some more stone here so that I can add some more control sand and create more higher volume. Sorry, you can't see my hand. Higher volume in this area so that I can contain the water below it. So I just need to add some more stone in this area, which I'll do as well. In the back, we got some good growth here. Oops. As well. So I moved this guy, and I forget the name of it. You all saw it in my part one, was back here. And I also purchased this guy as well from the store. I'll put it in, you'll see a little thing come up now of what type of plant this is, but I added this in the back. It's doing good. This plant is just growing without any hesitation. So there's just some that aren't doing so well. So I'm going to add some more volume. And then I got some good Monte Carlo that wasn't dead like the other one. So I'm going to add some more Monte Carlo because you can see the Monte Carlo has died here. This vine actually is doing fine down here, but it didn't do so well when it was wrapped around the tree. The Paludarium that I had it in before has high humidity. It's my vampire crab. And I'll show you what that looks like. So back here is my first one I ever did. And there's just humidity because there is a lid on it. So a lot of it is getting trapped. And I also have a fogger in here. So this is where my vampire crab lives. And you can see him right there. And this tank is doing wonderful in terms of growth. But again, higher humidity in comparison to this one. So we need less requirement of humidity plants in the areas that don't have that humidity because it's open air. And then in here, they just have a good water source as well. So I just need to reassess the types of plants that I'm adding for this immersed side, just because again, the requirements for humidity are going to be different. So let's go through and start adding some items to this and cleaning it out. So we're going to take a lot of these plants out as we go through and do some maintenance on it. Now I want to keep these floating plants, so as always, I'm going to grab something for them. So I just have this little container that I'm going to fill these up with. Floating plants help take nutrients out of the tank, but there's nothing in here feeding it nutrients right now because again, it's just been cycling by itself. So again, I can show you how clear it is. I don't have any filter and you can see all the way to the back. No filter, again, easy maintenance. Now, the other thing that I've done in my other Paludarium is springtails. I don't have the right soil. I don't know if they'll live in control soil, and they help break down organic matter from the immersed side. I may grab some from my other tank, but if you're wondering where I picked them up, I have PetSmart near me. They have springtails in what we call roly-polies, and I don't know their real name. Those also help break down organic matter too. But let's go through and look for some hardscape that'll help elevate this area. Because essentially what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pull this out. I'm going to add volume to this back area. I also want this area to be brought out more so that I have more space in the back. So I'm going to move this sand so that this rock can come full force forward. So I'm just going to move the sand again. Okay, so what I need to do is I need to drain it. So this is easy to work with back here. So let's go through and drain some of the water out. All right, now I've drained some of the water out and some of the sand in this area. I'll be able to hopefully see if I can get this to come all the way up over here. All right, so I basically want this to be a whole plant area too. I don't need this small swim room that I had for the tank because I'm gonna make sure it's high enough throughout this area to hold some more water. So essentially I just need more space for planting items. And one thing I've learned from my other one is wherever you want there to be wherever I want the control soil to be, I want it to have some type of sponge in between this and the water. That way nothing transfers over and it's kind of creating like its own little filter. So this whole area will now have control soil is what I'll go through and add. But I need to create a bigger ledge for there to be more control soil in this area. So I don't have enough small stone, so I'm gonna go and break some of this up and we'll see what we get from that. So I went through and added some more of this right in here. So this is just a sponge filter and basically just creating a gap between this point and here and some back in here. I added enough stone to create more volume in this area. So as you can see, we have a lot of volume now over here for more plant room. Also, my main point was to get this higher for water. So I'm gonna have the water come all the way up to here to fill this area in. And just making sure that none of this falls over into there too. I'm also gonna add some root tabs into that area. And I don't think I'm going to add the wood back because it was taking away from this beautiful plant in the back. So I'll just keep this as is with no wood. but we'll go through and start adding some plants back. So here's Boost. This I had from a different tank, but usually they're around $8 or $10. So I'll go through and add them in between these rocks here as well. This will start growing out of the tank. I also have this baby plant that's really upset that I took it back out again. Here's some ivy. So the ivy I'm actually going to put back here because it'll start growing out of the tank eventually. So I'll just add it back here. And see if it's not transplant shock like the other parts did. And this one looks like it's kind of doing good, but it looks a little fried. But we'll see how it does. All right, now what I'm gonna do is get some tissue cultures ready for this area up here. I have some UG. Apparently this is a carnivore type of plant, and it can grow immersed. So I'm gonna do immersed and submersed because it does do carpeting. I have some hydro coat tile. It's more of like a clover, but as you can tell, the shipping of this was terrible, so the gel all broke up. Have some Christmas moss that we're going to add, and of course Monte Carlo, and this Monte Carlo actually came in good shape, so we're going to add that all around this back area. Well, actually probably all here, because this back area I'm going to add that clover stuff because it gets taller. So we'll add that in here, and we'll add some moss, and let's go through and rinse these tissue cultures and start planting them. All right, so we're back. Washed a bunch of the tissue cultures, and I'll show you what it looks like. This is why it's always good to get one of these tubs. So you have your HG, I believe it is. Nope, UG. You have those ones that look like clovers. So what we'll do is we'll plant them, and I'll kind of do a close-up. We have our Monte Carlo as well, and we'll plant that. So we're going to go through and plant these. Now I'm going to add some Christmas moss. If you guys haven't grown Christmas moss, it's some of the coolest growing moss, in my opinion. Little Christmas leaves that grow out. All right, I have one last runner. Monte Carlo, we'll see how it does in here. All right, let me just check, because I have a couple other stem plants, tissue cultures. Oh yeah, Maricopa. That's what I'm gonna add back here, just because it's a long, higher stem plant. That'll be perfect. Cool. Let me go wash this and we'll be right back. Alrighty, so we added our Maricopa in the back, right in this area. I went through and cleaned the glass. Just with the glass scraper, there was some diatom algae buildup, and everything is looking good. This is the new setup. So we removed the wood. We cut this whole area to be more of a planting area. So now I have more room for more plants, and we hired this whole planting area to make room for more water because it was only about a third of the way. I'm going to be adding shrimp, and I can probably add about 10 shrimp in a colony, maybe 20, but we'll see what I'm going to add in here later on. Definitely probably going to do shrimp, but who knows. Monte Carlo, we added some of this clover leaf type style plant that I'm never going to be able to pronounce. And then we added some other UG here, as well as down here. We added one little Monte Carlo down here. So everything looks great so far. This plant is just doing amazing, as always. This plant in the back too. Our moss and our other plants are looking good. There's some plants that aren't doing so well. Just some melt in that area of these plants. But other than that, they look great. Ivy will start to grow up. So perfect. That was our update. I'm gonna fill this up and we'll do a capstone of this in the corner of where it is at. All right, so we are done. We went and did an update to the part 2 of this Paludarium and set it up with some additional area and surface space for planting. This time around, I added plants from tissue cultures. I wanted to test it out and see how those kind of work in this immersed era. You can go to your local nursery, way more cost effective than purchasing tissue cultures. That's what I did with my first Paludarium for my vampire crab that I showed you a little bit earlier. That's where I got all of mine. They were super cost effective. You can break them apart and have plenty of plants. Just be aware that you probably want to ask if they spray them with pesticides and wash them if they do. But don't quote me on that because the ones that I grabbed didn't have any, and I don't know if washing kind of takes that pesticide away. But again, truly appreciate every single one of you tuning into this. If you are new to the channel, please take this moment to subscribe. If you are a returning listener or even new, hit that like button too. It helps out the channel, and I truly appreciate every single one of you that tune into these videos. And take the time to comment. If you have any questions or you want to correct my speech, which sometimes happens, feel free to. Helps me become better at pronouncing some of these items. And again, as always, truly appreciate every single one of you, and we'll roll into the fly through of where we're at with this. There will be a part 3 of the series because I want to show you all where it's at as well when it grows out for the next 2 weeks. But again, until next time, I'll see you all then.